Part 2, the letter LAMED here. So there's an interesting thing about looking at Hebrew words. And this is one thing that I found, and again, just so people know, Klein's dictionary, the etymological dictionary of the Hebrew language for readers of English, published by either, Macmillan in a blue cover or Carta, Jerusalem. It's out of print for some crazy reason. And, but I found this to be the best dictionary. Anyway, the point is, you look at certain Hebrew words and you just try to understand what they mean. Now, another step of the study is to look at the spelling of the word. So I could say in English, the word cat, C-A-T. Okay, that's the word cat. Yeah, but why is it spelled C-A-T? Because it's a cat? I could have called it ape, A-P-E, but assigned the value of the word to the cat instead of the monkey and vice versa, and nobody would know the difference. Doesn't matter. But see, that's not at all true in Hebrew. In Hebrew, the spelling of each word is absolutely pertinent to the word that's being spelled. The very letters used to spell the word are a really big deal, just so you know. That's just the way it works. And so the function of this, what's called the eriktology study, is looking at the spelling of the words. But in English, it doesn't matter at all, other than that's the way you spell it. Because the letters are simply phonetic. Now, if you believe in gematria and you study Greek or English, then you could say, oh, it does matter. The letters that you use to spell a word are telling you another message. And that's the whole gematria study. And why should that work with that one particular Cambridge authorized edition? It just does. That's what the guy said. And he did a lot of study. And it's like, I've put no study towards that English version, just so you know. I'll take his word for it. He said it worked. What that means is you can look at, and I've heard other people say this about the English Bible, King James. In fact, I think it was Michael Huggard that was talking about this. I think he said the phrase that the Bible is a word rightly divided, the word of truth, is referring to the King James because the division into books and the order of the books, the chapter divisions and the verse division. Sometimes you'll have a sentence split in half in two different verses. Sometimes you'll have a train of thought and you'll have a chapter break, and it's like, well, whatever. Did some monk do that? He got tired, or he went on vacation. It was Friday afternoon and he quit working. Why is there a chapter break there? Just is. Why is the order of books different in the Hebrew Tanakh than in the King James? Why does the Catholic Bible have these other books thrown in? It's like, it just is. Nobody knows why, or maybe there's a reason, but it doesn't matter. Yeah, but if it's the word of truth rightly divided, the guy that was the proponent of that theory was saying it's absolutely of divine orchestration, that those chapters are exactly there. And then besides each letter of the verse, each letter of the word having a gematria value, the whole verse has a gematria value. And if you look at which chapter and which verse number, it means something. Like I heard somebody say, I believe this is what it was. If you start at Genesis 1 and you count the 666th chapter of the Bible in that order of books, talks about the devil. What? I think it's the book of Job or so. I think that's what it was. I seem to recall something years ago that somebody said that. And it's like, boy, that's divine orchestration. I'll tell you what, boy, that's divine cryptology right there. And then they do other stuff like that. It's like, that really means something. That's a really, what does it mean? It means 666 has to do with the devil. That's what it means. It's like, yeah. And then what? Book of Revelation, tribulation. What about it? Mark of the beast. Yeah, what about it? Well, it's just some stuff. It's prophetic stuff. Yeah, well, what about it? What am I supposed to do with that information? Well, you don't want to be one of them. By golly, that's what you do with that information. You don't want to be one of them. And it's like, what? All this whoop-de-doo and all this counting and the numbers and because of what? I can do nothing with it other than to believe somebody else is all whooped up about it. What I found in looking at Hebrew words is that the spelling of the words means something. And then if you look at where those words are used in scripture, it's pretty significant. And then one thing I found is that in using the dictionary as compared to looking online. See, if you look online, you say, like sometimes I said, what's the word book in Hebrew? You say, what's the word book in Hebrew? Punch that into Safari and it'll say, it's the word sefer, spelled Samic Peresh. Oh, okay, now I know. But if I'm looking in the dictionary, especially Klein's dictionary, as I'm looking, my eyes are seeing all these other things. And so then they start building my whole environment of consciousness as I'm doing the study. And I found that to be a very valuable opportunity, just so you know. So some things I might look up online, some things I'll look up in Wigram's Englishman Concordance. In other words, Strong's Concordance, you can say, well, where's the English word scroll used in scripture? You look up the word scroll and it'll tell you all the places where it's used. And then it'll tell you if there's half a dozen different words used for the word scroll. And I think Ketub, that's writing, but Sefer is the only word for scroll, I believe. But anyway, they'll tell you all the verses where it's found. But see, the Wigram's Englishman's Concordance of Hebrew, you can actually look up the word Samic Peresh, and it'll tell you all the places where it's found. Just that Hebrew word, which is a very valuable tool. But here, the point is, if I'm looking at words and I bump into this word, LAMED, hey, that's the name of the letter. Well, in English, here's the names of the letters. A. Why is it called that? That's just a sound of vowels. A. B. Why is it called B? Well, there's the B, the consonant of the sound of the letter B, and then the vowel E sound. B, B, C, D, E, F. Why didn't they call it Phi? Why F? And I could go through the whole English alphabet and say it's just consonants with vowels. That's all it is. In Hebrew, the word Aleph means something, and the word Bet means something. Interesting enough, both of them, Aleph means ox, strong, it has to do with deity, doesn't mean deity. Bet means house, has to do with embodying, but both the word Aleph and the word Bet mean to be taught, trained, domesticated, of the house. Of whose house? Of anybody's house. But if Aleph represents Elohim and Bet represents his people, then being taught, trained, and domesticated of his domicile, his house, his authority, his who? Yahweh Zavot, the Elohim of Israel. Then the meaning of the word Aleph and the meaning of the word Bet is, I'm the master of this house. I have a heart, a will, a mind, and a projection of a word, a matter. And if you're my people, you better listen to what I'm saying and you better do what I'm saying. Come on, that sounds pretty authoritative. Well, that's right. You see, so in Hebrew, it radiates messaging each letter and the spelling of the word. And if the word Lamed is the name of the letter, and I look it up in the dictionary, it means studying, scholar, skillful, accustomed, didactic, and it's a barrel stave. A barrel stave? What What's that got to do with a lamed? Well, when you make a barrel, they bend pieces of wood and cut them all and fit them together so that it bows out like this. You think of the 1800s barrel. Okay, it's how you make a barrel to contain water or whatever you put in the barrel. It's how you make a barrel. A barrel is kind of a rigid basket, a container. Well, it just so happens that the word spelled Yod Kaf Lamed, pronounced Yakal or Yakala, the 10th, 11th, and 12th letter, Yod Kaf Lamed, literally means to contain. It means to have the power and capacity to contain it all, to prevail. Yod Kaf Lamed. So the interesting thing is, 10 is the minyan, the legal minimum, a quorum. Kaf Lamed are numbers 11 and 12 in the alphabet, which is 10. This is Yod is 10. Now it jumps up in the being base 10, value of 20 and the value of 30. Mem would be 40. But these two, 11 and 12, that's right in the middle of the entire alphabet. And they work together because there's 22 letters. And so that brings a certain attention to Kaf and Lamed as this pair. Hence, they're drawn in the purple. Yod, Het, Tet, Yod, drawn in the blue. Kaf, Lamed in the purple. Mem and Nun, working as a pair, are drawn in the red. But just so you know, the outline of the chart is that Kaf and Lamed, these two colors purple here on this shirt, but the Yod, this light blue color, to kill it. Lady Karen Davis did a song years ago, heard it, and she was singing, and I heard, and I didn't know the Hebrew, but she was saying Tachilet Israel. It's like to kill it Israel. What does that mean? And I didn't know the language. I was trying to learn and listening to worship songs, and I looked at the lyrics, and it says, "The color of your people Israel." The color of your people Israel. That's what she said in English, but what did she say in Hebrew? Tachilet Israel. Does Tachilet mean the color of your people? 5 words in English for 1 word in Hebrew? Really? How do you spell Tachilet? Tav, Kaf, Lamed, Tav. Kaf, Lamed. Hey, that's those 2 letters. And what they mean is, hey, but they're in purple and Tachilet's blue. But actually, Tachilet can be a blue-green, or it can be a blue-purple. It's the color they got from the snail, but some people say it was from like type of a squid or a slug type of creature. They used it to dye the blue color of the zitziot. It was the sacred color. It was used on the embroidery in the tabernacle. And apparently, as the story, the rumor, the myth goes, when Israel got taken into captivity, that sea creature disappeared, and they were never able to use the color blue from the sea creature, which is why the Jews started wearing just white, not having a blue thread, which you always said to have a blue thread in, not one, he said, tie a zitziot and have a blue thread in it when you make your zitziot, and then you'll see it and you'll remember to do what I told you to do. So you might say, yeah, come on, those them crazy Jews. Well, it has nothing to do with them crazy Jews. This is Yahuah Zavot, the Elohim of Israel, told his people, you will tie for yourselves zitzit. What's a zitzit? Something that flies, like a zitzi fly. It's an African fly, right? Zitzit, spelled Zadiod. And you will look at it, and you will remember to do what I told you to do. Yeah, but what if we don't? When he said, let there be light, and there was light. Well, what he said is Yehior, and Yehior, what he said happens. He said to Moshe, you're going to come back, you're going to go get all my people out of Egypt, and you're going to come back and worship me on this mountain. And Moshe said, that's quite a prophecy there, but can you give me a sign? Can you give me a sign that I can hold on to that So I can know that what you just told me is true, that we're going to come back and worship you on the mountain. And he says, yeah, I'll give you a sign. You're going to come back and worship me on this mountain like I just said. Oh, yeah, that's the sign. Oh, okay. What do I hold on to? Hold on the fact I just told you something. That's what you hold on to. Oh, okay. So when he says, tie for yourself tzitzit with a blue thread, and you will see it, and you will remember to do what I said. Yeah, but how do we know? Because you'll look at it and remember to do what I said. Have you tied for yourself tzitzit? Now you could buy tzitzit that somebody else tied, because when he said tie for yourself, did he mean I got to tie it myself, or did he mean one of my people need to tie it, and yourself is in the plural? Just one of us. Either way, I suggest you tie it yourself just because for the fun of the doing it, the artistic, and you can trade them with other people. Hey, what's nothing wrong with that. But what I'm saying is, when he says something, that's all he has to say. Why is Tequila blue the color of your people? Tequila is the color. It's like us calling it blue, B-L-U-E. It doesn't mean the color of your people. Somebody translated Karen Davis's lyrics to say the color of your people. It's Tequila Israel. She just said the words blue Israel. Why did the lyrics say blue Israel, Tequila Israel? Because it means the color of your... I'm just using this as a great, huge example of the frustration at the very beginning, back in 2003, when I started listening to stuff and going, huh, what's going on? And I realized it's completely scrambled out there. Just so you know, I'm trying to make it really, really clear because I've bumped into so much scrambling out there. Just so you know. Why is the color of your people Tav, Kaf, Lamed, Tav? Because of the meanings of Kaf Lamed being the Torah, cryptically the Torah. Teach and learn these instructions. The value of the Kaf, the open hand, the lines, parallel lines of this is my Torah that is given to you as you're covering all the Kaf, open hand, cupped hand business. And Torah and Lamed, teach and learn. This word Lamed literally means be a scholar, learn and teach. Abraham was chosen by Elohim to be his people and following in his lineage because he would teach his family, his household, his people. So that means the Elohim of Israel is all about teaching. Lameding, meaning of Aleph and Bet, taught, trained, domesticated of his teaching, of his authority, of his regard, of his house. Well, that's Yahweh Zavot, the Elohim of Israel. And then this word Zavot, Sabaoth. You see it translated in Stone Stock, Master of Legions. The word master isn't there. In fact, is that the word legions? It's armies. Zadi Bet Aleph, Vav Tav. Vav Tav is turtle. Zadi Bet Aleph is army. Yeah, but Zadi Bet is turtle, covered wagon. That which swells up, that which amasses. If you have a couple farmers in a field, there's no army. But if you get a bunch of farmers in a field, more than 10, now you've got an army. Small army, but it's an army. Whoa. So you amass a bunch of guys, 1,000 guys, 10,000 guys. Well, now we got a force. That's a Zavah, Sadi Bet Aleph. Well, how do you get plural armies? Get millions of guys? Yod Zadi Bet. Change the suffix, change the prefix. Zadi Bet Aleph Vav Tav. Yod Zadi Bet is gazelle. Beautiful to look, a beautiful woman. Yod Zadi Bet. Nun Zadi Bet is a sword handle, a knife stuck into something. Because Zadi Bet then means to position or to place something that can't be moved, to put it in position. Put what in position? Aleph Vav Tav. What's Aleph Vav Tav? Well, that's the plural of turtles. Armies. ALEF-TAV is a letter of the alphabet. So if you look at the spelling of the word, Yahuah is a vote, he who causes to exist, the placing in position of every letter as a symbol of his oath. That's what Zavot means. It's not Lord of the Sabbath. Oh, he positioned the Sabbath day. You bet he did. He positioned the Sabbath day to show his authority and his placing of his realm of jurisdiction, his LAMED, his king, his emperorship, his divinity. Why would he have his own bride, the bride of Christ, the church? And we're going to change it to show we have more authority. Wow! If there was ever an indicator of infidelity, isn't that it? Isn't that the epitome of heresy? Thank you, Mr. Constantine, for making it so clear. But then he empowers them for 2,000 years to run the Inquisition and torture and cause the mayhem on the face of the earth for 2,000 freaking years. Why does he empower them to do that to us? Because of the 2,730-year curse. Imagine that. What's he doing? Yeah, that's right. You see, he told his people, Israel, this is the way it's going to go down. So you can read this alphabet like it's a prophecy. And the value of LAMED comes right out of the Kaf. And the value of the Kaf comes right out of the Yod, which comes right out of all these other letters. So as we're going through, you can read it as a prophecy of human history on the face of the earth. And the fact that Yeshua came walking out this narrative in the gospel story, the fact that he was crucified right there at the Zion, put to the weapon, thrown into the tomb, the round rock rolled in front of it, the tomb, and then pinned shut, and he says, it's by my own hand I'm doing this. Boy, that's right there. And then he's in for Kaf Lamed, Mem Nun, Samakayim Pei, 3 days and 3 nights, and then Pei Zadi, the grave opens up, and he rises up out, Kuf, as the rush man. It's like, well, there's this story. But it's also the story of Israel's history. You see, Israel went into captivity and was squelched. The northern kingdom in 721, taken over by Assyria. The southern kingdom was taken over by Nebuchadnezzar's Babylon, which was taken over by Media Persia, which was taken over by Alexander the Great's Greek, which was taken over by the Romans, and then the Holy Roman Empire, and here we are today. But the northern kingdom, taken over by Assyria in 721 BC, Leviticus 26, he's going to multiply by 7 the curse. Ezekiel 4, 390 days, a day for a year. 7 times 390 is 2,730 from 721 BC to 2010 CE, or AD, which is 15 years ago. So if that's where we are, then the time of Israel's incarceration, like Yeshua being in the grave, between the Zion and the Zadi. Hey, there's the Mishkan pattern. How about that? 2,730 years locked in the tomb of their own disregard of Yahuah. You see, Yahuah, as we've gone through before, said, even if you guys forget, I'm going to do the remembering for you. Because you didn't listen to my voice and guard what I said to guard and do what I said to do, the curse is coming on you. Read Deuteronomy 30. When all these things have come upon you, the blessing and the curse, just like I said, then you'll return to these words. What curse? The 2,730-year curse, where your enemies get to lie to you, oppress you, dominate you, put you in misery, like between a rock and a hard place, in the same Elohim that took his people in the first Exodus out of the land of miseries and the house of slavery. Well, we've been 2,745 years now, 35. We've been in the same oppression and slavery. But he said he'd release us. Yeah, but he said it was conditional. It's conditional that we come back to his words. And that's what he said. Well, that's what he said. But he also said we'd forget. He said to Daniel, hide the words and seal the book. That means no one's going to be able to keep it percolating in their forefront of their mind. No one's going to be talking about it. I mean, everybody's going to not even know it exists. And he says, you're going to forget that I was ever your Elohim, or you were ever my people. The book of Hosea. See, this isn't going to be taught as the consciousness of human history or Israel's history, but it is. It is the history. It is what's to be expected. And to see Yeshua come out of the grave is the same fractal pattern as to see Israel come out of its oppression unto the second Exodus that Monty Judah talks about, Lion and the Lamb Ministries. He's the first guy I ever heard talk about that. And then for Israel to rise up to the preeminent position, kufresh, of the rich man status is not only a picture of, oh yeah, we all walk the face of the earth and die in our mortality, and we're resurrected unto immortality, eternal life. That's the resh status. Yes, it's that too. It's also Yeshua coming out of the grave. It's also Pezadi, open mouth, the language coming back. And it's also Israel stepping into its role as the band of Aleph, the people of Yahuah's heart and soul, the Resh man status on the face of the earth. And if he's reserved that for the 7th millennium that we stand at the edge of now, then the understanding of all this is like one big giant prophecy that no one has ever talked about. Because if the Christian church, the Jews haven't touched Revelation, the Christian church has been running the story of interpreting the book of Revelation. Thank you, Apostle John, for writing that. You were given it on the island of Patmos, but for 2,000 years now, it's been lost because the only people that have been running the narrative of translating it are infidels and heretics who don't know Yahweh's Avot, don't care about what he said, and know nothing of being his people, and have betrayed his covenant and not kept the very indexing, the Mishkan pattern, the Moedim of Yahweh, saying they're not ours. Thank you, St. Constantine, for making that clear. Anybody who's a Christian who regards the Sabbath day or the Moedim will be tried and executed as a heretic. There you go. It's sustained all these years, bringing us here and now. So what do we got? The meaning of the word lamed: studying, scholar, skillful, accustomed, make it your lifestyle, barrel stave, didactic. Lamed mem dalet yod means sufficiently. Sufficiently? How do you get sufficiently out of all that? Because look at the spelling of the word. Lamed mem dalet yod. Dalet yod, there's this, again, this things in my experience, there's this movie called Ushfazin called Invited Guests, like at Sukkot. So it's filmed in Israel and some Jewish culture about family keeping Sukkot and invited guests. But there's this one scene, they're speaking in Hebrew and with English subtitles, and the wife says to the husband, enough, just stop. He was saying something, and she was like, okay, I've heard enough. But what she says is die, die. Now, if you read that in English, you're like, oh, you want me to die? What does it mean to die? It'll come to the end of your life. But it means sufficiently, enough. Just stop. We've had enough. Yahweh said he'd multiply the curse by 7, and the curse he gave was specifically 390. So because he said so, he could never pull it back and rescind. The curse on the northern kingdom of Israel was going to go, the whole thing, 2,730, and then it's got to stop if we return to his words. That's what he said. And he's bound like ropes tying him up. Chet bet lamed, we'll get to that word in a minute. He's bound by his own voice. So we need to trust his voice, because if he's bound by his own voice, whatever he says, that's what he's going to do. Whatever he says, it happens. When he says it's going to be 2,730, that's what it's going to be. When he says, I poured out my fury on you, but once the fury is spent, once the enemy has done its ravaging, then he says, when you return. Well, there's only a little bit of fury. I was only a little bit ticked off. But oh boy, I'm going to pour out my fury on your enemies who oppressed you, who I called in to do it, but they took advantage of my disdain over you. But I'm going to pour lavishly my favor And I'm going to give them what for? Oh, I'm going to pour out the nose, Aleph Pei, the character, Yod Aleph Pei, of my wrath, and the heat of my fury is going to pour out on not my people, the people who hate me and hate you because you're my people. Now that's what he said. Has that happened yet? Oh man, look at them Nazi, look at them commies, look at them British. Look at them Americans. Look what this certain three-letter groups have done across the face of the earth. Oh, man. When's it going to stop? Yeah, when's it going to stop? When it's sufficient, enough, stop. Lamed Mem Dalet Yod, Lamad. So I could sit there and say, here's the secret code. When is it sufficiently done that this madness and the carnage and the torture can stop? Lamed Mem Dalet Yod, when I, Yod suffix me, have sufficiently lameted. What's Mem Dalet? Mad, made, Mem Aleph Dalet is madly with, which is very much. Lamed means unto or according to. Yod my, is it he speaking or is it me? What's Mem Dalet? Well, Mem Dalet, Dalet means a garment tailor-made, stretched to fit. Measure, index. When you guys are sufficiently measured, test and tried to love him with all our heart, that will learn his language, that will do what he said to do. When you guys have sufficiently endured the 2,730-year curse, and then according to Deuteronomy 30, you come back to these words and you listen. You shema, you shomer, you watch, keep guard, and you ayin shin hey, you do what I said to do. And what's this thing about the Sabbath day? Well, that's the proof that you're listening, because you're not going to work on the Sabbath day. That's the proof you're listening. Well, they changed it. Yeah, that's right. They changed it, but that's the proof they're not listening. You see, it's all written into the language. This word Yod Kaf Lamed, power, capacity to prevail, to contain it all. See, whoever puts his hand to learning the Torah of instruction will have the power and capacity to prevail and contain it all. That's written into his words. That's the text. That's the meaning. That's the secret code. If you listen to my Torah, teach and learn it, and put your hand to being the scholar who studies and becomes skillful, you will have the power and capacity to contain it all and prevail. Do you think the enemies of Israel want Israel to prevail? So if they're empowered to be in the seat of authority of teaching and learning, or saying that what God said you're supposed to teach and learn, like not the Torah, not the Moedim, then doesn't it make sense they're going to keep it from us? Of course it does. I'll answer the question for you. What is Kaf Lamed Hey? Kaf Lamed, see, you put a Yod prefix, you put Mem can be a suffix, Nun is a suffix, Hey is a typical suffix, Tav is a typical suffix. Kaf Lamed Hey means completed, finished, end, destruction. Destroy, accomplish, fulfilled. So when Yeshua said, I fulfilled the law, see, it's come to an end, it's destroyed. That's the meaning of the word. What did he fulfill? If you think that he did away with the Torah so that we no longer have to do it, that's a doctrinal understanding. But from my understanding, that's not what he meant. But the word Kaf Lamed Hey can mean that. But Kaf Lamed Hey means cause to cease. But it also means all of it. It's also a curtained bed, like a bridal, what you think of as a bridal chamber, and it means the word bride. So as a curtained bed for the bride, wedding night, Kaf Lamed Vav Aleph, now we're going to look at some derivative spellings, it means imprisoned or enclosed, like a bird cage. Kaf Lamed Vav Yod, perished, lost. Kaf Lamed Vav Lamed, completed, included, betrothal. Kaf Lamed Yod Lamed, completely, totally, crown. I'm going to crown the law. I'm going to fulfill and do it away, destroy the law. It's the same exact word. Derivative looks. Kaf lamed yod, article, object, thing, vessel, utensil, garment, organ. Organ, something functional and instrumental. Kaf lamed yod yod. Kaf lamed yod hey, kidney, but also destruction and annihilation. But a kidney is also a filter. They say the heart's the pump, the kidney is the filter of the blood. Filter the blood, that's like a strainer, like lines that you pour something through, like the grate on the bottom of your shower, right? It catches stuff you might otherwise go down the drain. A functional instrumental strainer, a utensil, a thing that imprisons, a thing that causes destruction. See, you start looking at these derivative words and then you just start pondering. That's what I'm trying to say. The use of the dictionary, you sit there and look at this and think, what do you do with all that? Kaf lamed lamed. To complete, to perfect, to comprise included, sum total, rule, community, to crown, wedded. That's kaf lamed lamed. Take the second letter and make it the third letter also, and it doesn't change what it is. It gives you a little clearer view of what it is. So he crowned the law as if he was wedded to it and made it preeminent. That's different than saying, do it away with it. We're not going to have that anymore. Kaf lamed, take the first two and just duplicate them, or kaf lamed, just throwing it a different way. Maintain, support, nourished, provision, economy, and a fruit basket like a cornucopia. This is the whole thing. I've kaf lameded the Torah. I've kaf lameded the kaf lamed. How do you understand what he was saying? Or looking at the letters of what he was saying. So the study itself is pondering the spelling of the words of the study itself. The word character, ALEF-PEI, is also translated wrath, but it's also nose. LAMED ALEF-PEI yod. LAMED ALEF-PEI will be pronounced laugh because the P and the PH is pay, the same letter. This letter over here in the green. Laugh. Well, that's your face, that's your mouth, that's laughy, my mouth, my laugh, lamed ALEF-PEI yod, but is translated in the face of. The face of. So now I have to sit there and say, the word Isaac means to laugh. Yitzhak, that's a little different. In the face of. Well, what's the face? Well, Aleph is I am. Lamed Aleph is the word no, like no. To be stern, it's like, well, okay, that's not a bad thing. It just means the one who has the authority to command the mouth opening. What mouth opening? The one who commands the grave opening, the one who commands Egypt coughing up the people of Israel in the first Exodus, and the world coughing up all his people that he scattered throughout in the second Exodus, the one that's about to happen. Kaf lamed mem, put to shame, reproach, humiliated, insulted. What do I do with that? See, if you look at menorah, 7 branches, 3 per branch, 4 in the middle. Yod kaf lamed mem is the 4 in the middle. 3, 3, 3, 4, 3, 3, 3. Well, kaf lamed mem is shame and reproach. He will, as a prefix yod, he will be put to shame and reproach, but he will have the capacity to prevail and contain it all. Well, when Yeshua was put into the grave, they mocked, they ridiculed, they ripped him to shreds, they killed him, put his claim to fame to reproach, but he resurrected, rose from the dead. Hazadi Kuf. He prevailed. He contained it all. That is a model of Israel being Yahuah's Kala, his people, his bride. But Lamed ALEF-PEI yod is also according to my character, my nature. ALEF-PEI, my nose, ALEF-PEI. What's his character and nature? Now we see some other words. Haderek, hey, dalet resh kaf, hey. Well, dalet resh kaf is a word. Educated, way, road, journey, custom, conduct, manner, method, And derakon is passport. Well, that's the same as aleph and bet. And that's the same as lamed. That's what you're supposed to lamed. The derek, the educated way, road, journey, custom, conduct, manner, method of Yahuah Zavot, the Elohim of Israel. Haderekah, put a hey prefix and hey suffix, direction, guidance, briefing, instruction. A bow pulled tight for the string on it so it's of use. A trigger on a gun, to tread, or that which is trodden. This is the way to walk, the way to use the bow. This is the functional use of the, that's the word way, derek, dalet, resh, kaf. Yeah, but dalet, resh is generation. Kaf suffix means your generation. Which generation? The generation of Deuteronomy 30, when all these things that come upon you, that you come back and you regard these words and you do what I say. So what I'm saying is that the functional process of looking at the dictionary, of looking at these words, of looking at these Bible verses, is you realize Yahuah Zavot, the Elohim of Israel, is all about teaching and learning his way of his house to be his people, to get his blessing. If you don't, you'll get cursed and you'll get oppressed and lied to by your enemies all around us, the world empires. And if we do, he promised a blessing, and the blessing is restoration. So the point is, Kaf Yod, Kaf Yod. Kaf is a prefix, means like, and Yod is a suffix, is my own, so like me. Yod Kaf is he will, Kaf is a suffix, means you. He will, the hand, he will cover you, he will affect you, he will give to you, he will protect you. Well, that's like the hand of El Shaddai, the powerful hand in regard to you. Well, there's two natures of that. El Shaddai can be seen as this female breast of giving provision and nourishment, and it's also a demon of destruction, of just wiping out everything, destroying, just overwhelming power. That's Almighty El Shaddai. That's what it means. Play on words, you could almost look like it as El Shaddai, the almighty powerful destroyer, or ELLE, the French word for the woman. El Shaddai would be the shad, the breast of feeding and nourishing. Now, I just happened to see this word, happened to be looking in the dictionary, and is spelled Tav Ayin Hey. And it means to stray, to wander, to reel, stagger, astray, misled, misdirected, deceived, and disappointed. Hey, yeah, like that. It's like, well, that's just happens to be a word. What do those letters mean? Well, ayin is weigh, measure, balance, examine, scrutinize closely what something really is. Tav is the sign of the covenant, and a hey is to express. And it's like, does that mean that we are going to be possibly deceived about what it means to be of the covenant? That's the spelling of that word. Where's the deception going to be? Well, the deception is going to be the shape of the earth, and deception is going to be, is that a comet? Is 3i Atlas a comet, or is it a spaceship? The deception is to be, is the platypus a mammal or an amphibian? What? No, the deception is going to be the understanding of the covenant. Somebody's going to try to, who would try to do that? Why, the devil, Satan, of course. Tav Ayin Bet means abhor, abominate, loathe. Well, if you betray the covenant, you do stupid things that he said will abominate you, and you become loathsome, which is what Israel did, which is why he kicked them out of the land and scattered them across the face of the earth. Tav Ayin Vav Dalet. See, if I look at Tav Ayin Hey, for some reason I'm on that page, Tav Ayin Bet right next to it, Tav Ayin Vav Dalet right next to it, and so your mind sees these different words, and it means Tav Ayin Vav Dalet, documentation, testimony, attestation. I'm attesting to it, I'm validating, certificate, mission, purpose, having an intention. Spelled exactly Tav Ayin Vav Dalet, Tav Yod. Well, Ayin Vav Dalet as a word is translated again and again, repeatedly, forcefully. See, and then I'm going, well, wait a minute. As I read the Torah, Yahweh keeps saying something again and again, repeatedly, forcefully. But I read in Stones to Knock, there's a verse that says, Yahweh will again, once more, choose Israel. Oh, again, once more? What word is that? Ayin Vav Dalet. That doesn't mean again once more. It means again and again, repeatedly, forcefully, every time. That's not one more time. Well, did he do it yet? Is it already done? You see, there's this understanding when you look at the scripture and you look at the dictionary and you put these things together, and then you realize the word ayin dalet means until. Until what? Until the time. Thank you, Daniel. Ayin dalet, ayin tav. In other words, hide the words and seal the book until the time of Kuf Zadi. What's Kuf Zadi? Raised up out of the grave? What's raised up out of the grave? The language? Israel's heart to love Yahweh with all their heart and all their soul and do what he said? Is that the Kuf Zadi? How do you know? Well, the word Torah, Tav Vav Resh Hey. Tav Resh means search or explore. Shin Het Resh, blackened, darkened, seek early, diligently, inquire, visit. Well, that's the word of the women at the tomb when Yeshua rose from the dead. They didn't even know he rose yet. They came Sunday morning. They got up early. They went to go see. They brought spices to anoint the body. They thought he was still dead. The word Shachar, Shin Het Resh, dawn, light, hope. It's a sense. It's a meaning. It means shedding light. It's the morning time. Elucidation, enlightenment. It's also gloomy and depressed, which they probably were. A friend just got killed. Shachar roar, add a Vav Resh suffix, liberation, emancipation, exemption, release, set free. Shacharot, Shin Het Resh Vav Tav, a different suffix, prime of life, dawn of youth. See, it's symbolical of like, this is just the beginning. Search the Torah for who Yahweh is and what it means to be his people and what he said for us to do. Well, for them to go seek Yeshua's body in the grave to anoint it with spices, see, if I'm looking at this word and realize that's the same word of what they were doing, the gospel narrative story brings out this word. So if I look at this word, seek liberation, release, to be set free from what? From a house of misery and slavery, being oppressed by our enemies because Yahweh set us in. Well, if he said he'd set us free, why doesn't he just set us free? Because that's maybe not how it works. You see, how does this place work? Yahweh said he's going to do something, and then he tells us to do something to facilitate him doing what he said he'd do. You see, what he said to Abraham is he says, I see Abraham will teach his children. Therefore, what I said about Abraham can happen if he teaches his children and they teach their children to listen to what I said and do what I said, so that, Lamed, Memai, and Nun, what I said can happen. See, when you read a verse like that and you realize this is like a mathematical equation. This isn't just God in the sky doing stuff, making stuff happen and doing this and doing that. It's like he has this relationship with Adam and he says, okay, Adam, I'm gonna tell you what to do, and then I'm gonna allow there to sneak in some kind of adversary, betrayer, like the Nachash in the garden. Turns out that the word spelled Shin Tet Nun, pronounced Satan, or Samic Tet Nun, means adversary, accuse, hate, act as devil, deviate, apostate, turn aside, swerve, unfaithful. Just like Tavai and Hay. Madness, wrong, fool, laughed at, mocked, derided, sneered at, ridiculed, made fun of, laughed at, Shin Tet Hey. Yeah, but I thought laughed at was Lamed Aleph Pei Yod, according to my character. Okay, so here's the way it goes. Yahweh's going to show Israel his character, and then he's going to have somebody else come up and say, you stupid idiot, you think that's your God, you think that's Yahweh, you idiot. They're going to laugh at you, ridicule, sneer at you, and make you feel bad for even thinking of regarding the, you want to go back under the law? What an idiot. Yeah, like that. Lunacy, nonsense, folly, Shin Tet Vav Tav. wandering, roving, rambling. I've been a rambling man, a roving and wandering. Hey, they make songs about that. You feel good about doing it. That's Shin Tet Vav Tet. That's being satanically inspired to be like Satan. I've been a wild rover, a rambling man. Allman Brothers sang about that. It's a good song, I thought, back then. Out of his wits, Shin Tet Yod Aleph, stupidity, Shin Tet Yod Vav Tav. And if the devil, what have you been doing, Mr. Devil? Job. Oh, I've been out there wandering around, going to and fro, because that's what his name means. The word Shin Tet means to wander around, to just wander around doing stuff. So when Yahweh said, hey, what is the Satan doing in my court? He said, hey, you angel who was sent on a mission, what have you been doing? I've been fulfilling my mission. Yes, sir. I've been wandering around just like you told me to. Wait a minute. That's not the Christian devil. Yeah, that's a whole nother story. The fact that the words exist illuminates the struggle, the conflict, the challenge. The job of the adversary, well, that gets you into Deuteronomy 13:1. ALEF-TAV. It starts with just the word ALEF-TAV all by itself. ALEF-TAV. That's the first word of Deuteronomy 13:1. So it invokes, you got to know this or else you'd have no idea what he's going to say. Kol ha-dabar. Kaf lamed, that means all, every, each, any. The complete. ALEF-TAV, the complete. Ha-dabar, the word, the matter, the thing. Asher. That word asher is a straight line. Ehyeh, asher, ehyeh. And then here's the word Anoki, I am, mitzvot, command, ALEF-TAV, Kaf Mem, which is your, you plural, Kaf Mem, ALEF-TAV. So dot line dot, like Ehyeh, Asher, Ehyeh. Who's the dot? ALEF-TAV, all the word. Asher, I am commanding you, ALEF-TAV Vav, regarding its ALEF-TAVness. Do you know how to read this sentence yet? See, if you haven't got this sentence yet, then forget anything else he's going to say in Deuteronomy 13. ALEF-TAV, all the word. Et kol hadabar. That. Asher Anoki mitzvot atkam ato. This is Yahweh Zevot speaking to Moshe. Dot line dot. Ehyeh asher ehyeh. You see the correlation. ALEF-TAV, every matter, each word. I command you. This ALEF-TAVness. Shamar Asha. Tav Shin Mem Resh Vav Lamed Ayin Shin Vav Tav. Guard to do. Lo, that's no. Tav Samik Pei. Well, Samik Pei is Seth, like Joseph, which means to add, to absorb, like the word sofa. It means at the end. It means don't add to it. And here's another answer. It says Ayin Lamed Yod Kaf. An Ayin Lamed is a yoke. Aliyah is to be lifted up to a higher success or promotion. Do not add, thinking that it's lacking something that you need to put something to. So the rabbis from the Christian story has been accused of adding to the Torah. We got 10 of them. They can say they can do whatever they want. He can't even argue. That's what they say. So they've added to, and Yeshua said regarding the Pharisees, and said, you guys have added all this other stuff and made it impossible for people to do, made it such a burden, knock it off. And they got mad at them and wanted them out of the way. And do not subtract from it. The word subtract is tav gimel resh ayin, and then from it is mem mem nun vav. Nun vav is the plural of us, but mem nun is to count. Mem is the prefix, is the at or away from. So it's like, wait a minute, what's the count? That's the meter, that's the measure. Don't subtract from it. Don't look at this word a little closer. Gimel resh ayin. Well, what's a gimel? Gimel's like the tether, and resh ayin is either a friend or an enemy. It means to do wicked or evil or harm, but it's also friend companion. It's where you get the word for shepherd. And gimel resh, I'm just saying, look at the word, but this is what the dictionary says when he says, do not add or subtract, do not supplement, and do not diminish. This is what the word diminish means. Cut short, reduce, trim, deteriorate, lessen, diminish, deficit. It's a barber. A barber, yeah, he cuts your hair. So don't cut the. But barbers also used to do bloodletting. The barber's pole was the red and white striped thing that turned around. It's like they used to think 100 years ago, a couple of 100 years ago, whatever, that if you were sick, you had bad blood. And so you go to the barber and he would cut you. They had razor blades and stuff there for shaving. He'd cut you and let out a certain amount of blood and patch you back up. And it's supposed to make you better. Don't do any bloodletting of the words of Elohim thinking that you're going to make it healthier. And it also means essence. It means beneath the dignity of. It's fruit without seed, called destoned, like a GMO. And it's beneath the dignity of the founder's intent. In other words, don't drain any of the blood out of the matters. Like saying it doesn't matter anymore. Like saying it was a covenant that nobody could do anything about, that bad laws nobody could live by, so he nailed it to the cross and did away with it. Yeah, like that. Don't tell that story. Well, that's the Christian version. So here's Judaism and Christianity right here, and he says, don't do it. Well, what the heck? What are we supposed to do? Shamar and Ashah. You're supposed to Shema, Shomer, and Ashah. According to Deuteronomy 13, then we go to verse 4. Lo hashema al dabari ha. Well, this is now talking about that prophet or the dreamer. It says, do not listen or hear or believe toward my word, dabari. Don't believe. Aleph-Lamed is a negative, but it also means toward, so it's both negative and positive. The prophet, ha neviah, hey vav aleph, he who, the same one, toward, or the dreamer, het vav lamed mem, the dreamer of dreams, hey, het lamed vav mem, the one who, kaf yod, that, and here's this word, mem nun samik hey. Well, mem nun is that count, nun samik is that test or trial, and it's tested, experienced, skilled, but nun samik is lifted up. So there's this thing that you lift up. Mem is the object that you lift up. So nun samik is a banner. It's the thing. What's a banner? The thing you lift up. What are you supposed to lift up? The thing you're supposed to lift up. That's the way Hebrew is built. What are you supposed to listen to? The thing you're told to listen to. Guard the thing you were told to guard. Ma shomer mashmer. That's the way he talks. It's not translated that way in English. But then he says, for knowing ha yod shin kaf mem. Yod shin is real or actual. This is for knowing the real or the actual. ALEF-TAV yod mem. ALEF-TAV is love. Yod mem is plural. ALEF-TAV Yahweh Elohechem. In other words, Yahweh is saying, I gave you the prophet or the dreamer whose stuff came true just to see whether you will quickly stray or whether you really do love me. It's like, come on, tell me you love me. Talk to me. Sing songs to me. Read my word. No, he said, guard and do what I said to guard and do. And I'm going to send you dreamers and prophets whose stuff comes true to see if they can coerce you to not do what I said to do. It's the same story as the Nachash and the serpent in the Garden of Eden. And we read that story in Genesis chapter 2, and it's like the devil sneaked in and he talked through the snake. And Yahweh says, oh, what are you doing here? Acting like he was so surprised. He knew it was going to happen. Why didn't he show up a few minutes earlier, like Samuel? Or was it all a setup? Oh, Adam had to fall. No, wait a minute. That's doctrine. What's God's will? How does Yahweh deal with his people? See, he tells us what to do. And then he says, if you do what I say, you'll get blessed. If you don't do what I say, you get cursed. Now it's up to you. What are you going to do? Well, you made me, you orchestrated, you were the guy who's God's will. It's like, no, wait a minute. That's all doctrine. What if it doesn't work that way? What if it just works? He says, you are an entrepreneurial Aleph. You have the right and the privilege. I'm giving you your life, and you can choose whether you want to bet with me and be my people, gimmeled to me by dalliting, choosing to be subservient to my instruction. Got 5 minutes. Not likely. Anyway, thank you, Carla. Verse 5. After Yahweh your Elohim have come, you will walk and fear Yirah, ALEF-TAV, his commands, his mitzvot. To Shamar and his voice you will listen to. And ALEF-TAV Obed. Hey, that's the word worship and work. And then the last word of verse 5 is Tav Dalet Bet Kuf Vav Nun. Well, Dalet Bet Kuf is cling to, but Dalet Bet is bear, and Kuf is like this straight line in this. For some reason, it looks to me like this bear claw. Kuf Vav Nun means it's a derivative of Kuf Nun Hey, which means own it, because you either made it or you bought it, you paid for it. It's like cling to this thing like it's your life raft. Worship by hearing and guarding what his voice has said. Deuteronomy 12:28. Shamar veshama ALEF-TAV kol hadebarim ha'elah. All of these asher anoki mitzvot ka. How many times does he have to say this? How many times does Yahweh Zavot, the Elohim of Israel, say to his people, Shema, Shomer, Ve'asha, which is Obed, worship. If I'm your Elohim and you're my people, this is what you need to do. This is the LAMED, the voice of authority. You need to listen to my voice. Well, he's speaking Hebrew. You need to learn Hebrew then. You need to watch, keep, and guard, Shomer, exactly what I said to, which is everything he said to do by his voice that you listen to. And you need to not just study and understand and be in alignment. You need to do it. Asha, ayin shin hey. In order, see, here's Lamed, Mem, and Nun, in order for the sake of Yayatov Laka, good welfare benefit to you. See, it doesn't, it's not you better or else. It's like, do this and Tov is going to happen. See, it comes with response. Our enemies don't want Tov to happen to us. Okay, you got that? Your enemy is going to lie to you so that Tov does not happen to you. They stay empowered. The best protection our enemy has is for Israel to be stupid, not listening. As long as Israel doesn't listen to the voice of Yahweh, our enemies stay empowered. That's the setup. That's how it works. That's the strategy of the entire face of the earth, just so you know. And your children after you. Here's an interesting word, ed olam. Olam va'ed is forever and ever. Until forever. This is the way it works. Until forever, you need to, my people, Shamar, Veshema, ALEF-TAV, Kol Hadebarim, Ha'elah. Asher Anoki Mitzvoka, that I am commanding you. You need to hear and you need to guard to do my words. That's Yahweh Zavot, the Elohim of Israel. And then he's going to send prophets and dreamers and pastors and popes and professors and saints, angels, to try to get us not to. That's the game. Do what is tov vayashar, good and right. Here's an interesting thing. Be'ayini Yahweh Eloheka. In the eyes of Yahweh's vote. See, it's not in do what's good and right in your eyes, in the right of the church or the bride of Christ or the nation, or it's do what's Tov and Yashar in the eyes of Yahweh Eloheka. And how do you know what's in the eyes of Yahweh Eloheka? Because the word ayin means weigh carefully, balance exactly, measure determinably, scrutinize pedantically, exactly. That's using your mind. Chakma, bina, shakil. That's thinking. That's calculating. That's hetchin bet. Attaching a value of importance. Yod kuf resh, precious, dear, costly. Putting things into order and row. Ayin resh kaf. That's being. View, regard, know, interpolate, between, among, during, to separate, divide, distinguished, clear, evident, perceived, become wise, understood, explained, instructed, comprehension, discern, to look well, to be prudent, to think, have intelligence. And that word, they'll tell you when it's used, means between. Strong's number 995 and 996. What it means is use your head, put your beanie on, bean, but yet when it says he cut a covenant between him and between us. That's the way it's translated. Or between him and us, between Elohim and Israel. He's cut a covenant to view, regard, distinguish, perceive, become wise, to think, have intelligence about, regarding himself and all those things. See, if I read the word bet yod nun and realize it means all this, and realize they translate it as between. Who did that? King James authorized translation. Here, the word sefer. Well, it just means scroll. It means book. Or it means to count. Hey, Abraham, sefer the stars. Okay. Nobody can count the stars. Okay, I'm done. What it means is count, number, tell, narrate, to cut shape, hair like a barber, letter, document, book, writing, enumeration, census, border, frontier. The Sephirotic tree of life is known as the Sefer, Sephirot, fence post, enclosure, a fence line connecting, figure, cipher, digitize, literary, like designing constellational configurations. Deuteronomy 13, Deuteronomy 14, Deuteronomy 6, and Deuteronomy 7. Why are these here under the columns of Reshin Tav? Compared to over here, Genesis 1, Matthew 5, Matthew 6, Revelation 21. What I'm saying is, I'm reading a couple things in Deuteronomy 13 here where he says is, you do what is right and straight in my eyes, and I promised a certain blessing. So what does it mean to be resh once the words have opened and we come to the stature of coming back and being his people, no longer the infidels that are sent dispersed into all the world? Well, there's an interesting thing. In last week, I was talking about this verse in Isaiah 13, verse 17. It says, Hineni, here am I, mem ayin yod resh. Ayin resh kaf is order, row, figure out what everything means. So mem ayin yod resh. Well, ayin resh is the word city, or to activate, to incite. It's also the word for naked and bare. Awaken, arouse, stimulate. Ayin resh, appeal, make noise, appeal to a higher court. So the action or the time or the place of ayin yod resh is here I am, hineni. Well, who is that? Isaiah? Or is it Elohim talking to Isaiah? Isaiah. It's just not, it's translated behold, and it's like, no, wait a minute. Wake up! What's going on? That's Hineni. Here I am. Here you are doing what? That's Isaiah 13, verse 17. Elohim Eliham, ayin lamed yod hey mem. Well, ayin lamed yod hey means to lift up above or to put something into. Well, that's appealing to the higher court. So, I've heard people, I think Robert Henderson is one, Ian Clayton, appealing to the courts of heaven and going blah, 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 blah. It's like, how do you appeal to the highest court, the court of heaven, the Supreme Court of the heavens? How do you do that? What did Yahuah say? That's how you do that. What did Yahuah say? ALEF-TAV Mem Dalet Resh. Well, ALEF-TAV is just pointing to Mem Dalet Yod is Mem Dalet Yod, not Mem Dalet Resh. Mem Dalet Yod is translated media, like Media Persia. So this is the Persians that are going to come and attack Babylon. So this is ancient history, Isaiah 13. That's what they'll tell you, and it says right there in first verse of Isaiah 13, which we're going to look at here, that this is what it is: Media attacking Persia. But it says Mem Dalet Yod, if you look in the dictionary, means measure, meter, something extended, like a garment, an index. Mem Dalet Hey means character, nature, attribute, rule, or principle. So I talked about this word with Mem Dalet earlier. What's Mem Dalet? A tailor-made garment according to the nature and character. It's what you got coming by measure, by meter. When the hand wrote on the walls of King of Babylon, Mene, Mene, Tekel, Farsin, that's not this word. Mene, weighed and measured. But Mem Dalet Yod is also measure, meter, something extended, like a garment. Lengthen the arms so that they fit your tailor suit. What's tailor suited? Well, isn't that what happened to Israel? Why Israel got cursed and scattered across the face of the earth? If you guys don't listen to me and you guys do what I said not to do and don't do what I said to do and do evil, in fact, they did more evil than the Canaanites before them, he sent in their enemies, tore everything apart, scattered them across the face of the earth. The book of Hosea talks about that and a bunch of other places. But he said, Deuteronomy 30, when all these things have happened, and you come back to these words, then I'm going to bless you and I'm going to pour out my wrath on your enemies. That's what he said. But you see, there's a certain measure extended according to character, nature, and attribute. That's Mem Dalet. He's done some measuring according to ALEF-TAV. ALEF-TAV hyphen Mem Dalet Yod. Yod means my, so that's what, and Dalet Yod is the word sufficiently, enough. Remember what he said about the Canaanites. He said to Abraham, the cup of their iniquity is not yet full. But when it is, then I'm going to bring you back and I'm going to clear them out and give you guys the land. What about this whore Babylon in the book of Revelation? She caused the people of the earth to drink from the wrath of her fornication, or what? What does that mean? And he's going to grab the goblet out of her hand and make her drink it. He's going to make the great whore, riding the beast, to drink of its own poison that it was given everybody else. Man's ways return on his own head. See, that's what Yahweh Zavot does. That's his typical behavior of meting out justice, mishpat. Man's ways return on his own head. You do righteousness, you get righteousness. But the word righteousness is zadakah. You do what he said, that's righteousness, and you get victory, deliverance, and salvation. That's the word zadakah. Same word, same meaning. You do harm and evil to your companion, resh ayin, and what you get is your own way coming back on your own head. That's what he said. But see, that says they're not coming after the desire, het shin bet. They don't attach importance to gold, Zion Hey Bet, and not delight in it, no chafatz in it. Well, then what are they coming to do? Who are these people? Let's look at Isaiah 13. I've gone through this before on other times, but in light of something very interesting that's going to happen this week, or so we're told, this little thing called 3-eye atlas up there, they said, well, it's a comet. No, it's not a comet. It's not behaving like a comet. It doesn't look like a comet, traveling faster than any comet's ever been seen. And we have no other words to stick as label, so we'll use comet. Why don't we use Christmas tree? Hey, there's a Christmas tree in outer space. It's not a Christmas tree. Well, it's not a comet. Let's call it somebody's tennis shoe. Okay, there's somebody's tennis shoe in outer space flying through. And if you're going to pick labels, I mean, come on, pick something. We don't have a label. Okay, then make up a label. Good idea. But Isaiah 13, Picture this staging, and I talked about this on the previous talk a few times, but maybe somebody didn't hear it, so we'll go through it again. About 15 verses here of Isaiah 13, so it's going to take a little bit longer. Sorry for the prolonged talk here, but I'll try to go through quickly. MShKN Aleph. Wait a minute. Leviticus 23, Yahuah said, if anybody ever says the word Masa Yahuah again, bam, that's it. You're out of here. Never say Masa Yahuah. Masa, MShKN Aleph is oracle, word. Everybody got a word from the Lord? Yahuah says right there in Leviticus 23, if anybody ever says this phrase, word from the Lord, Masa Yahuah, you're out. You're going to get it, man. You're out of here. He's got no tolerance, but yet that's the word used here. It means a divine enlightenment, a word, I see. That's what it, MShKN Aleph, like Nun Samik, means to lift something up and carry it. So this is the mem, the object that's picked up and carried. It's like it's translated burden. Does anybody know what the burden of the Lord is? Yeah, picture Yeshua carrying the cross. That's our sins. That's our infidelity. That's his burden. That's what he was carrying. Read Leviticus or Jeremiah 23. It says, never say Masa Yahuah. What you should say is, what did Yahuah say? What did he pronounce? Do you know the Ahmad Basodi? That's what he said. Read Jeremiah 23. Anyway, this says Masha Babel. That's Babylon. That's King Nebuchadnezzar, because that's where Media Persia is going to come and no, wait a minute. That's the way it's translated. What's Babel? Confusion, blending. Hey, like we've had 2,000 years of no Torah, no Moedim, no words from Yahweh's mouth, a different covenant, a different savior than Yahweh's Avot, the Elohim of Israel. That kind of Babel. Gateway to confusion, bet lamed. This is an oracle concerning the Babel, Asher Het Zion Hey. Well, Chazah, that's this raving, this vision, Yod Shin Ayin Yod Hey Vav. Well, Shin Ayin means he will delight, but it also is to save. He's going to delight to save Ben Amoz. He will delight to save him, the son of Aleph Mem Vav Zadi, which is like Raka Zak Ve'emetz. That's the word Emetz. It's a motz. It means courageous. So here's an oracle about the confusion, that there's a vision about delighting to save the courageous one. Courageous? The overcomer? The man of Yah who will regard what Yah said and stand on what he said? That Amos? It's translated Isaiah, son of Amos. Anyway, verse 2, El Har Nashefa. Upon a mountain, well, this word Nun Shin Pei, hey, Shafa, well, that's the word for lip, language, tongue, and it means to smooth lip, and it means to sweep bare. So it must mean a bare mountaintop. Going to the top of a bare mountaintop, but this is also the language that restores to health and cures from lunacy. That's the Hebrew language, Shafa Kodesh. Nun Shafa, Nashafa means to, hey, Resh is mountain, but it also means to be pregnant, which is a synonym of Hebrew, and it also means to elucidate and clarify. Elucidate and clarify the language of Yahweh's people. Shin Aleph-TAV, lift up, Nun Samik, lift up a banner. Yeshua said, if I be lifted up the way Moshe lifted up the serpent on the stick. See, the Nun is the serpentine shape, the Samik is the stick, but the orthographic shape, like Hasana, the burning bush, the orthographic shape, the engineered structure, that's the Samik, and the meaning of the letters, that's the Nun. So Yeshua said, if I be lifted up, lift up. The meaning of the alphabet letters, to see Yeshua's salvation to the courageous who will return to the authorized language. Hey Resh Yod Mem, Hey Resh Yod. Here is aspect quality. Resh Yod Mem, grandiose, exalted voice to them. Hey, isn't that what we're doing? Hey, Nun Yod Pei, waving, swinging, brandishing arm, Yod Dalet, the power. It's like, let them know that this is where the Yod Kaf Lamed, the power is to prevail, and we can contain it all. Otherwise, we've been lied to if it's a different voice. And what will arrive? The Pei Tav Chet Yod. Pei Tav Chet is opening. Chet Yod is life. Pei Tav is expanse, like pita bread. Somehow there's going to be the opening of a life. Nun Dalet Yod Bet Yod Mem. Well, Nadab, that's one of Aaron's sons' name, and it means noble, generosity, voluntary, liberal, willingly donated. Somehow there's going to be arriving a willing, voluntary generosity of opening. That's like opening the grave. And it's like, isn't this what Yahweh's been promising Israel all along, if we would just return to his words? Verse 3, Ani, I am, as the commander, the admiral of the fleet, Zadivav Yod Tav Yod. Zadivav is commanding as an admiral, Lamed Mem Kuf Dalet Shin Yod. Shin Lamed 2, who's he commanding to? Yod his, Mem Kuf Dalet Shin, sacred, set apart. That's his special forces. Yahweh's a vote, special forces, like Navy SEALs, like send in the Marines, like the Delta Force that will enter in to penetrate the assault. Also, Gimel Mem, Kufresh ALEF-TAV Yod. Well, Kufresh Aleph is to call, to summon, teach, to read. Gimel Bet Vav Resh, Gabor, manly, valiant, hero, knight, bull, champion, warrior, proudly, Lamed Aleph Pei Yod, according to my character, my nose, my wrath, Ayin Lamed Yod, Zion Yod, Eliz, like the girl's name Eliza, it means rejoicing, exulting, Gimel Aleph Vav, Tav Yod, my grandeur, genius, excellency. These are my champion special forces, exuberant over my grandeur, rejoicing to obey my command. Well, these are not just angel forces. Isn't that supposed to be us? Isn't this exactly supposed to be describing the resh status of a man of Israel, a woman of Israel, listening to his voice? Shema, Shomer, Asha, Obed, with all your heart and all your soul. And these angels, these military forces, are exactly of the same heart. 4, verse 4, Kol Hamon, the voice of Memvav Nun, count, crowd, popular, tumult, confusion, abundance, clamor. It's like Bet Harim on the mountain. So this is, it says it's the voice of it sounds like the voice of thousands of people. It's like there's a tremendous noise. Is it a motor? Is it machinery? Is it just voices? What is it? Basically a tremendous tumult. But Bet Haresh means not just mountains, clarify, brighten, explain, or it became clear. What's become clear? That we've been lied to for thousands of years? That Yahweh's voice has been muted? That we are his people and we can do what he said? It's not bad laws nobody can live by, but that's part of the lie. Dalet Mem Vav Tav, blood. Dalet Mem is also similar and silent. Clarify what's become silent, that the likeness, Rab, many people, voice, Kol, Shin Aleph Vav Nun, crash, noise, tumult, uproar, or the kingdoms. Somehow the kingdoms of the Goyim are going to go into this mass confusion of a frenzy. Something becomes clear. Nun, Aleph Samik Pei Yod Mem. Well, Aleph Samik Pei, Aesop, like Aesop's fables. The word Aesop is a collection of fables. Aesop must have been the man who did it. Well, the word Aesop means a collection. Gather, collect, anthology, reap, harvest, meeting, assembly, a mob. Yahweh's a vote. Mem, Kuf Pei Dalet. Fakad. Hey, there's that Pei Kuf Dalet word that David talks so much about. Simply translated precept. But what it means is you were given something to hold on account, and then he's going to come back and say, let me see what you did with it. Pass and review. Mem Pei Kuf means articulated. Something we gave his people on deposit, and he says, let me see what you did with it. That's Pei Kuf Dalet. That's like a military passing in review of the commanding officer. So when you put mem in front of Pei Kuf Dalet, it means the commander, and because it just said Yahweh Zavot, this is he's the commander of the Zadi Bet ALEF-TAV, the military forces. So every time it says Yahweh Zavot, oh, he's the master of legions, it doesn't mean master of legions. That's the way it's translated. This word mefachad means the commander, the master of the legions of the Zadi Bet ALEF-TAV. But if we say he's the one who placed the ALEF-TAVs, then he's the one who commanded this legion. So if every letter represents one of the angelic forces of his military array, that's a possibility, but it also can simply mean he's the guy who planned all this out. And then Zadi Bet Aleph, Zadi Bet Aleph means to go out or proceed. Mem Lamet Het Mem Hey, which is war. Pei Kuf Dalet is to, or Mem Pei Kuf, it means to articulate. So somehow Yahweh's, see, the way this reads in Isaiah 13 is Isaiah is told, go up under the top of a high mountain, wave a flag, wave your hands, point to the houses of the nobles, Washington D.C., New York City, London, Rome, point, don't, who's coming? We'll get to that. This is Yahweh sending in a military forces, and the entire earth is going to go mad, into a frenzy. Verse 5, Bet Aleph Yod Mem, in the condition of terrible, frighten, threaten, the earth, Mem Resh Het Kuf, Merachech. Well, Resh Het Kuf means distant dimension, far away, highly unlikely or improbable. It's like, there's no possible way this could be. Kind of like 3 Atlas. Mem Kuf Zadi Hey. Well, Kuf Zadi cuts until the time of Kuf Zadi, Daniel 12. Mem is now the occasion, the time, the place of Kuf Zadi Hey happening. So this is supposed to happen at, hey, Daniel, hide the words and seal the book until the time of Kuf Zadi. And this says this is the Mem, the occasion of Kuf Zadi Haying, happening. So this is the Kuf Zadi. And it means an animal set aside for sacrifice. Cuts, Kuf Zadi can be pronounced cuts, and it means to chop down a tree, to chop things up. It's a special elite squad of soldiers. It's a scythe to cut chaff. It's a small part, curtailed or cut short, makutsat. Hashemayim, the heavens. Wait a minute. Is this from the far side of the heavens? Then it's not Media. It's not the Persians attacking the Babylonians. It's not Iran attacking Iraq, that part of the world. I mean, it did, it was, it could have been, but it's also could be seen as this prophecy of saying somebody's coming from the far side, a different dimension or distance of the heavens. Didn't see that coming. Into our zone at the time of the end, at the time of Kuf Zadi, Yahweh vekali zamo. La Chabal Kal Haaretz. Yahweh, and then Kali, Kaf Lamed Yod. Kaf Lamed Yod. All my Kaf Lamed, everything that I taught, everything I said, everything I told you guys to learn. Kali means capable of containing. Utensil, vessel, organ, functional for destruction, instrumental. Here's a group that he's calling in as a functional utensil for implementing destruction upon the earth. Zion, ayin, mem, anger, wrath, vexed, indignant, cursed. It's not real happy, apparently. Lamed, chet bet lamed, here's that word. Chet bet lamed, bound by an oath. A measuring line, rope or rigging, like tying down rigging on a square rigged sailing ship. It's like to hold the thing steady so that it can do what it's supposed to do, and the wind hits the sails and it pulls the whole vessel, and the ropes are made. Yahuah is bound by his words the same way. We're, as Israel, bound to Yahweh's words the same way forever. The word het bet lamed in the dictionary means destroy, ruin, injure, writhe, and travail. A woman who gets pregnant and now has to go into labor is the same word. It's like, oh gosh, can anybody relieve me from this? No, this is what you've got coming. But it also means indemnity paid to the wounded as promised. Well, wait a minute. That's Yahweh rescuing his people when we do what he said. Yahuah, is bound by his own words to send in his special forces, angel armies, to rescue us like he did with Egypt, with Israel in Egypt. Is that three-eye Atlas? Not that it is. It might be. It could be. If not now, sometime. It hasn't been for the last 3,000 years. It's been 2,500 years or so since Isaiah. Could be now. Hey, this is December 14th, and I heard somebody say, "Oh, December 19th, something is supposed to be close, and something's going to happen." And maybe not. But hey, this Friday might be when this verse happens. Maybe it's like Yahweh said, "I promised my people that I was going to send in the cavalry to rescue my sweet little Kadoshi." That's what he said. And remember what he said to Abraham: the cup of iniquity is not yet full, but when it is, I'm going to bring your people back to give them this land. And then the 15th day of the first month, first day of unleavened bread, he sent them out. And the scripture tells us in Exodus, it was exactly 430 years to the day that he told Abraham that he was going to do it. And he did it to the day. And he brought them to the top of Mount Sinai, just like he's told Moses. The proof that what he said was a true prophecy, because it happened. This is a prophecy that he's going to send in his special forces. But what are they going to do? Verse 6. Hey, Yod Lamed Vav. Oh, wail and howl and lament for what's approaching, Karav, Yom Yahweh, the day of Yahweh. Here's this phrase: Kaf Shin Dalet, Mem Shin Dalet Yod, Kashad Mashadi. Well, the shad is a female breast, but it's also the omnipotent destroyer of all opposition. So as a shad of Shaddai, it's both destroying his enemies and providing the promise that he of nurturing and that he told us he was going to do. It's both things happening in this event. Bet, or Yod, Bet, Vav, Aleph, it arrives, it happens. And just as a comparison, Mem, Shin, Dalet, Yod, suffix, Mem, Shin, Dalet, Dalet means to harrow, plowman, to stick the blade in the earth and just scrape it across and make furrows for planting seeds, right? That's the harrow. Overpower, devastation, ravaging, violence, havoc, evil spirit, and plunder. Well, that's Shaddai. Well, that might be who these guys are in Three Atlas. Maybe. He then goes on to say, verse 7, Al-Khan, verily, surely, truly, call Yadim, all hands, Tav, Resh, Pei, Yod, Nun, Hey, go weak, and every heart, Hal, Lavav, Anosh, every human heart, Yod, Mem, Samik, melts. Mem, Samik means to dissolve. Test, trial, trouble, despair, like a body of forced labors. Every strong man's heart is just like, when they see what is now. If it's not Three-Eye Atlas, it could be, and it'll be something else just like it. I'm not saying it is, but I'm saying that's what these verses are indicating. Verse 8, Vav Nun, Bet He Lamed, alarmed, terrified, dismayed, and frightened. Zadi Yod Resh Yod Mem. Zadi Yod Resh is pangs of childbirth. Pattern, design, painter, artist, hinge, axis, pivot, turn on, revolve. It's like the fulcrum of a seesaw. He said, Israel, I put you up and all the other nations down. But because you betrayed me and betrayed the covenant, you're down and they're up until the time of the curse is over, in which case you come back to my words, Deuteronomy 30, and then I'm going to flip the seesaw. This word, Zadi Yod Resh Yod Mem, is a picture of the fulcrum pivoting the change of everything. Pictured, imagined, figurative, disguised himself. Het Bet Lamed, that same word, ropes, rigging, bound by oath, indemnity paid to the wounded as promised. And then Yod, Aleph Het Zion, which means possess the vision, to seize, grasp, grab the prediction. Have you ever heard of this prediction that Yahweh was going to exodus his people, restore his people to his favor, and wipe out his enemies? Take it hold, just like Dalet Bet Kuf. And then, like a child, like a mother confined by having a child, Kaf, Yod, Vav, Lamed, Dalet, Hey. Yalad is child, but this is like with the Hey suffix is the mother. The mother who's having a child is trapped by the concerns of that birthing. Yahweh's also, it says, is he promised this to us. Do you realize that? Do you know who Yahweh's Avod is? Not the same character as JC of the Christian era. A little different. Yod Het Yod Lamed Vav Nun. Het Yod Lamed. Wait, hope, strong, successful, recruited, enlisted. Move in a circle. That's complete the whole circuit. Pause to bear a child, writhing, anguish, pain, but also power and wealth. You see, if you just stop and look at the definitions of these words, you realize here's the circuit. Saviv, Saviv, Kadosh, Kodashim. This is the teaching regarding the temple, the mountain, the house, the taught, trained, and domesticated. Ezekiel was at 43. Saviv, Saviv, Kadosh, Kodashim. Everything has to move in this circle. What Yahweh said has to come full circle back around to what he said after it conducts. Cygnus the swan goes out and comes back. This concept of in the constellations, it's like this story, door to door. The teeter-totter has to pitch, and it's going to come all of a sudden. Man towards his neighbor, Yod Tav Mem Hey, means to be made an orphan, but it also means to be made honest, upright, completed, fulfilled, dealt with integrity. And then Paneh Lamed Hey Bet Yod Mem, which is flames, which is incited, enthusiastic as the blade of a sword. Paniham, their faces. So their faces of men are going to either be so quivering because they're terrified they've lost all nerve control, their brain short circuits. But those who have been waiting and hoping and are holding on to Yahweh promised this. It's like there's this enthusiastic, this is like the blade of a sword. It's like the sword coming out of Yeshua's mouth in Revelation 19. What he said, he does. That's the meaning of the picture of the blade of a sword. It's the metaphorical meaning of the graphic Zadi Yod Resh, pictographic expression. Is it really a sword coming out of his mouth? The meaning of the sword coming out of his mouth is that what he says is right here in verse 8. Behold, verse 9, the day Yom Yahuah Bo, the day of Yahweh arrives. Aleph Kaf Resh, Aleph Kaf Zion Resh Yod, cruel, merciless, ruthless. Zadi Resh Zion Resh is stranger. Aleph Kaf is only, it's like everybody's a stranger. I don't know you. Well, that's a picture of the Levites when they were told to pick up their sword and start killing people at the golden calf incident. That's a picture of Yeshua saying, I don't know you. You guys are workers of iniquity. Yeah, we did miracles in your name. We're your people, man. We're the bride of Christ. What do you mean you don't know us? I don't know. You're a stranger. You were lawless. Serious stuff. Here's an interesting word. Vav ayin bet resh hey. That's the word Hebrew. Passover, transition, past tense. One on this side of the river, one on that side of the river. The crossover, and there's one in the middle of the river. That's Daniel 12. It means removed, taken away. Vav het resh vav nun, anger, wrath. Aleph pei, nose and wrath. Lamed shin vav nun is to change, but it's also linguistic. Lashon, language. Lashon can also mean enemy or foe, the earth. Lamed shin mem hey, unto the destruction. Shema shin mem hey is destruction, appalling horror. But it's also the reputation. So the reputation, like, God's really mad and everybody's in trouble. That he's known for, the flood, Sodom and Gomorrah, stuff like that. That's what this is. Vav het tet aleph yod hey, the sinners, yod shin mem yoshemid Shin Mem Dalet should be Yod Dalet means destroy, devastate, exterminate. It's the condition of apostate. Mem Mem Nun Hey. Out. In other words, these guys are coming to destroy the sinners from the earth. That's not his people doing what he said. If you shema, shomer, and ashah with all your heart and all your soul, that's not you. He's here to give the people that hate him, who've lied about him, who don't know him, what he promised to do when his people return to his Torah, his covenant. Deuteronomy 30. And then in verse 10, it says, for the stars of the heavens, you're going to go dull and not going to radiate light. The darkness, the sun, and producing the moon will not put out to the earth its light. Verse 11, Pei Kuf Dalet, I will pass in review upon the world evil, Resh Ayin Hey, and upon the wicked, Resh Shin Ayin, Ayin Vav Nun Mem, their iniquity and return, Shabbat, that's bring back man's way, return on his own head, Gimel Aleph Vav Nun, that's the word for genius, proud, haughty, arrogant, exalted, glorified, rise high, pride. The proud, I'm going to bring Zion Dalet Yod Men, wanton, insolent, presumption, breach, and majesty, glorious excellence, Gimel Aleph Vav Tav, Ayin Resh Yod Zadi, terrible, tyrant, powerful, ruthless, cruelty, I will bring low. The word is shafil, which is the word for dachshund, like I'm trying to go fast here in the interest of time, but what he's saying is that this is everything he's promised. Everything he promised he was going to do in the future, he's describing right here. Is that three-eye atlas? If not, it might be, it could be. And if it's not three-eye atlas, it's going to be another thing looking just like that, coming from the far side, highly unlikely, a different dimension or distance, highly unlikely or improbable. Verse 12, Aleph-Vav Kuf Yod Resh. Well, Yod Kuf Resh means precious, dear, rare, valuable, Anosh, humankind, and more than pure gold, Adam, Mem, Kaf Tav Mem. Tav Mem is perfect. Mem Kaf Tav Mem is stained, soiled, defiled. Aleph-Vav Pei Yod Resh is in a hole or pit or a ditch. It's the word for opera. What I'm saying is, even though man is soiled, is this saying so many people are going to be annihilated and destroyed that to find a man is like, hey, there's a rare one. Hey, there's a man. There's a human being. Verse 13, surely Al-Khan Shemayim, the heavens, Aleph Resh Gimel Yod Zion, agitation, quiver, quake, anger, wrath, excited, enraged, and the earth, Tav Resh Ayin Shin, quake, stir, rage, agitated, shocked, uproar, commotion, Mem Mem Kufav Moon. It's going to be rattled from its position. Whether the world is globe or flat, something's going to shake the heck out of it, and it's going to become completely dislodged, and there's nothing anybody can do about it. Is it three atlas? If not, it's going to be some other event like it. Bet, Ayin Bet Resh Tav. Well, Ayin Bet Resh, that's Hebrew. Crossover transfer. In the condition of Hebrew, that's like saying, but if you're Hebrew, Yahweh's a vote, on the day of his wrath, Aleph Pei Vav, his anger or his character, the place to stand, or the only place to stand, is if you're in the condition of being Hebrew. Is that what this verse is saying? Kind of looks like that. And then verse 14, and we're going to end with this, it says, Bahaya, in existing, Kazavi, like a gazelle, like this sword handle, the thing stuck into this is absolutely Mem Dalet Het, suppressed psychologically when you push something away to, like a lamb with no place to go, a man will go toward his people and vacate, a man towards his land, he will venture. Verse 15, anyone found will be stabbed or pierced or run through, and the one who nun somic pay hey, sweep away, destroy, added, the one who is added to what Yahweh said, Yod Pei Vav Lamed. Well, that word's not in the dictionary. You have to look at the way it's. Hey Vav Lamed is where we get the word poly or multiply, but it's also the word for like Nephilim or fallen ones or abortion. The ones who have multiplied fallenness or the one who have promoted abortion, is that what it means? Bet, het, resh, bet, with sword, drought, heat, waste, ruin, desolation, destruction. Hey, Pelamed, hey, hafele, pele, like the pele, means distinguished or incriminate. In other words, if a man's way is returned on his own head, the ones that have made it their business to be contrary to Yahuah with either lies or killings or whatever other shenanigans they've been doing, it's all coming back on them. Who's going to be doing this? The guys that are in the small military team of elite Gabor, Yahweh's Kadosh ones, his SWAT team of angels. They're not coming after silver and gold. They're not going to come and take things from the earth. They're going to come and purge the earth of the sinners. How do you survive? Don't be a sinner. You better repent. You better repent right now. This is the 14th, and something's going to happen on the 19th. I don't know. That's what they say. But they're lies, so who knows? You better repent now anyway. Repent, turn back to Yahuah, Zavot, the Elohim of Israel. Repent from your sins. Jeremiah 31. Ephraim. Oh gosh, why was I such a fool? Bring me back and I will come back. Come back to these words. Come back to be Yahweh's people. Come back to regard the authority of what he said. Listen and do. Guard it, keep it, and be about the business of doing what he said. Believing, because Yeshua is the Mashiach, validating everything. Keep the Moedim. Don't work on Shabbat. Don't eat that which abominates you. Pretty simple stuff. Well, here we are, Yahweh, we're your people, Yahuah Zavot, our Elohim, wanting to be your people, trying to behave like your people. Please forgive us for all the vulgarization and bless us, please. And even so, Yavo, as you said, you're bound by your words. We're bound by your words. We're in it with you. So make it happen, as you say, as you command. We're on your team. Thank you. Zadi Vav Vav Tav. Amen.